Okay, it's June 18, 2024, about 2:40 in the afternoon. And I'm aboard Seaquestor, and today I'm going to go out for my first single-handed sail of the year. It's a very light air day. It's almost dead calm in here at the marina, so it shouldn't be much of a challenge as far as the sailing is concerned, but we'll see when we get out. So as you can hear, the engine's running, and I'm just about ready to cast the boat off. So I'm going to set the camera up and we'll watch that. And back her out of here. Okay, we're off the dock, and I'm gonna motor out past the marina, and we'll put the mizzen sail up. Probably I can put it up when we're headed out, because it looks like the wind is going to be on the nose on the way out of here. But that's all there is to getting her off. Just untie the boat. I usually walk it back, push the stern out, because this boat tends to proc block to port in reverse, and then put it in gear and let the boat back out. I don't give it any throttle because that will accentuate that port prop block. Okay, I think we'll be able to put the mizzen up even in here. So I'll set the camera down and we'll do that. Okay, mizzen is up, as you can see, and we're just gonna have to motor out. The wind is mostly east in here, which is going to mean that I won't really be able to sail out, especially with it as light as it is. When we get out of the harbor, I think the wind is going to go south. That's what the forecast is. It's pretty hazy out there, so if it starts to fog up, we may come in a little early. But as you can see, I am completely alone on board Seaquestor, my Allied 36 Ketch. Well, we're under sail, so I'm going to shut the engine down and we're going to do some single-handed sailing. That's better. And I just gotta get my course, that jib rolled in a little, or sheeted in. There we go, that should do it. And we're under sail. It's chilly out here with that easterly wind. I'm not gonna push, I'm just by myself out here. So this is all there is to single-handing an Allied Princess 36, especially if you don't use the mainsail. I set the mizzen as I was heading into the wind out of the marina, and then when we got out into some steadier wind, I unrolled the Genoa. And we're currently doing 4.7 knots, and our course is just slightly south of east. So it's a good day for sailing, although I am going to put the camera down for a little bit and get my jacket on because it's chilly out here. Better. Water temperature today is about 54 degrees right here, and the wind is blowing in off the water, so that means the wind and air are probably pretty close to the water temperature. There's about a 10-12 knot breeze, and we're up to 5.1 knots, so we're looking at probably not much more than 55 degrees out here. And of course it feels colder because of the wind as we're sailing past Greening Island. And our current course is 105 degrees, so just a little south of east. Now we're going to head over and maybe tuck in behind Great Cranberry Island, which is right there, where maybe it will be a little warmer, probably less wind, but warmer. And looking around, I only see one other sailboat out here. Next time we come out will probably be tomorrow. I think we're going to have some guests on board, and it's supposed to be really hot tomorrow. They're calling for temperatures inland up in the middle 90s, but out here on the water it probably won't be much over 60. So that is my plan, is maybe to come out tomorrow when the temperature is a little bit cooler out here than on land. Of course, here on the south side of Mount Desert Island, even if it's 95 in Bangor, it probably won't be much over 75 here, especially with wind off the water. Might even be cooler than that. Today it was 69 when I left the house. Okay, we're headed out, and I'm gonna shut the camera down for a little bit and figure out where I want to go. Well, while I'm just cruising along out here, I think I'll talk a little bit about single-handing a boat like this. Whether or not you can single-hand a 36-foot sailboat like this really is strongly dependent on two things: your own skills and how you have the boat set up. Now, I have this boat set up right now, since I'm not using the mainsail, so that I don't have to leave the cockpit for any sail handling chores. So that makes it very easy to sail the boat. I don't have to fool around, and it's pretty easy to handle everything. And it's also safe. If I have to get up and walk around on deck when I'm single-handing, that is not that safe. but I prefer to just have the boat set up so that that is not necessary. So anyway, we'll just continue over toward the Cranberry Islands and see what it's like when we get out here. Let's get back to talking about single-handing the boat. Now, under sail, really there are only two sailing maneuvers that I might have to do. One is tacking, which on this boat is pretty straightforward. What I do is turn into the wind and put the bow through the wind. And then I let my Genoa, which is 130% Genoa, which means it extends 30% of its foot length past the mast. I let it backwind, and that pushes the bow around. Now, this is a full keel heavy boat, and it doesn't turn fast, and that just helps guarantee that you're going to get the bow around. And when that happens, once the bow goes through the wind, I cast off the lazy jib sheet. That's the one that's no longer going to be controlling the sail, and start sheeting in on the other side. Now, I have electric winches, which means that once I get the jib sheeted in as far as I can, just by pulling the line, I use the electric winch to pull it in the rest of the way. Now, you're not gonna, if there's any wind, you are not gonna trim this sail, which is 335 square feet, by hand. The load can be huge. And so that's not bad out here, except for the haze. And the only other, and you know, once I get tacked around, I trim up my Genoa and I worry about the mizzen then. Now, what about the other change? That is, when you're going downwind, you might want to put the stern through the wind rather than the bow. And that's pretty straightforward. Now, if this was a sloop, what I would do is I would sheet the main sheet in part way. If I was going downwind, it would be way out. The main would be way out. So by sheeting it in part way, a couple things are going to happen. The aft end of the main boom, or in my case the mizzen boom, is going to go through the wind more quickly if it's sheeted in, and also it's not going to swing all the way across the boat and get yanked to a stop suddenly by the sheet. And that can put on a huge shock load, and you can actually break things doing that. Plus, you have a boom flying across the boat. Now, on this boat, the mizzen boom is high enough that I can stand under it and it can't hit me. But if I had a lower boom, I'd have to be very careful not to be where it was going to swing. And one way to avoid that is to sheet it in, at least part way. So that's something I often do. And then I turn the wheel to have the stern go through the wind, and I watch my Genoa, and as soon as the Genoa starts losing the wind, I start letting it out and sheeting it in on the other side, and then pull it through. Now, if the wind is blowing hard, that can be quite difficult. And single-handing a boat this size and doing a jibe where you put the stern through the wind can be quite a challenge if the wind is blowing hard, say 15 to 20 knots. So in that case, what I'll tend to do is I'll sheet my jib in and I'll sheet my mizzen in, and I'll just turn the boat upwind and tack, which is much easier to do in heavier air. And it's also much safer. You're not going to be putting huge shock loads on anything, and you're much less likely to break something. Anyway, we're getting close to the Cranberries, so let's take a look. Now, one thing about this boat is it has, you'll notice the steering wheel is not on a pedestal, and the shaft for the wheel goes aft, which is the opposite of what you'd normally expect. This boat has what's called worm gear steering. And one thing about worm gear steering is unless you turn the wheel, it doesn't move, which is very convenient for single-handing. I do not have an autopilot, but not having to hold the wheel to keep it from turning is useful when tacking. Okay, I'm going to set the camera up and we'll try that tack again. Okay, so I'm going to get ready to tack. So that means I'm going to take up the slack on my lazy sheet and get the other sheet off the winch. And I've still got 2 turns on the winch. Turn the wheel to put the bow through the wind. As soon as the bow goes through the wind, and I'm happy that it's going to stay through the wind. Go straight into the wind. Now we're through. See that it's pushing it around. Now it's on. I've got a whole bunch of line in the cockpit. I'm going to get it coiled up and out of the way. That was a bit of a sloppy tack, but we made it. We're headed toward Great Cranberry Island now. We're beating, and we'll see what the wind looks like a little closer to Great Cranberry. So that's all there is to a single-handed tack. You just have to get ready and make sure you have planned out what you're going to do in advance. It's pretty straightforward, especially on a boat like this. Okay, we're headed toward Great Cranberry, and I can see some flat water ahead, so I'm going to tack again. So I'm going to get ready to go. Turn the wheel, and around she goes. Okay, that went pretty well. And we'll sheet that jib in. And coil up the excess line. Final step is to put 1 turn on the lazy winch. We're now headed back toward the man-set shore of Mount Desert Island. Since we're headed in to drop sails and go into the marina, I'm going to explain how the roller furling jib works. Now up there at the bow, you can see where the sail attaches to what's called the furling extrusion. That's an aluminum tube. And down at the bottom of the aluminum tube, there's a little drum that has line on it. And the way the system works is that when you pull that line, it rotates the furling extrusion and rolls the sail up onto it. And this is a custom built furling Genoa. You can see where the color of the sail is a little darker right next to the furling tube, and that is what's called a foam luff. And what that does is it takes up a little more volume in the center of the sail than down at the bottom or way up at the top, so that when the sail rolls up partly, you maintain a little bit better sail shape, so you can sail with the partly furled jib. And but the main purpose of that is to put the sail away quickly. So that line goes down along the side of the boat and comes back to this little winch here. And what I will do when I get ready to furl the jib is I will just pull that line in, which will pull it off of that drum, rotate the furler, and roll the sail up on it. And if everything goes well, it'll only take a minute or less to get that 335-foot Genoa rolled up on the furler and put away. Now you notice the bottom edge of the Genoa is blue, and the outside of the sail from this vantage is also blue for about a foot, and up the back edge of the sail, the leech of the sail, and that is blue sunbrella cloth that is there to protect the furled sail from sunlight. So when the sail rolls up completely, all you're going to see is that blue cloth, and the more fragile, at least from the point of view of sunlight degradation, Dacron sailcloth will not be exposed to direct sunlight. Okay, here we have a lobster boat heading in, and you can see he's making a bit of a wake. He's got a bunch of traps on the back, probably traps he's taking in to do some work on, and you can see his wake coming. And that wake is going to bounce us around a little bit because we're going downwind at 3 knots, and that wake is going to come in on the port beam. So you'll see how the boat moves when we get hit by a little lobster boat wake. There we go. Just have to make sure you're braced, as the boat does move when you get hit by those wakes. Okay, now what we're going to do is come in here, and you probably can't see it, but there is a bell buoy up there that marks a ledge that extends over from Gareening Island toward the entrance to Southwest Harbor. We're going to go just past that buoy, and at that point we'll start the engine and furl up the sails. Well, because it's really calm out here today, I'm going to start the engine and we will furl the sails out here. I always start the engine first so that, one, I know it's going to start, and two, if I need to have steerage, once I roll that jib up, I won't unless the engine's on. So let me start the engine. Okay, engine is started, so I'm ready to roll the jib up. I'm going to be working up here, I want to get these lines out of the way. I'm going to turn the boat into the wind and drop the mizzen. This isn't going to take much. These ready to head back to the marina. Well, I'm back at the marina, so all that remains now is to get all my lines squared away, get the mizzen sail cover on, and head home for supper. So thanks for coming along on this first single-handed sail of the 2024 season aboard my Allied Princess 36 Seaquestor.